Welcome back. This is still Kirk in the Morning, and if you're just joining us, our topic of discussion today, as far as health is concerned, of course, is understanding Alzheimer's and dementia diseases. And Elizabeth, for someone that is just joining us, let us just give them a definition or an understanding the basis of these two conditions.
Okay, so dementia is a general term, an umbrella term that used to explain changes in personality, changes in behavior, and one of the type of dementia is Alzheimer's type. So Alzheimer's type, there are many types, but it's the most common. There's Lewy body, frontotemporal, HIV-related dementia, or dementia because of alcohol-related issues, but Alzheimer's type is the one that is the most common of them all. Yeah.
Okay, and of course we mentioned the risk factors, we also mentioned the signs.
Yes.
Now let us just look at, when we are going for the break, of course you're talking of the diagnosis.
Yes.
Let us look at the treatment. Is there treatment for dementia?
So unfortunately at the moment there's no cure. I would start by that. There's no cure for dementia, but there's medication that can be given depending on when you go and see the doctor, and that comes again back to saying importance of diagnosis. Because once you go to see a doctor early enough, you could be given medications that could slow down the progression of the condition, but unfortunately the progression will still happen. But it will keep you stable maybe for 4 or 5 years before there's another dip when you move to the next level of the condition. So it's important when I talk about diagnosis that the earlier you go, then you're able to get these services. Of course, with the condition, it comes with issues that I said that look like mentally issues that affect your mental health. So while you're also working with your neurologist, you may also need to work with your psychiatrist, because sometimes they might not be able to sleep very well, and they may have to be given maybe medication to just calm them down or make them sleep. So also you need to work also with your psychiatrist. So there's a lot of the treatment that would be given is just general treatment, so that their loved one, and then of course the issues of like they could end up getting maybe other conditions, maybe like for example, like I said, if somebody is having diabetes or blood pressure, that of course has to continue being managed by your doctor. And also there could be issues of, you know, like they get, what are they called, infections. So also, because they will not be able to tell you, so you watch them a lot. So a lot of these things, when you're even going to the doctor, you need to maybe be writing down, maybe today they didn't eat very well, and all these things. Just keep a record so that the doctor can then, from what you have written, can actually start deciphering what is the problem with your loved one. So treatment will be just to deal with the issues that are being seen and that can be dealt with, and what can be, but there's no treatment, I mean there's no cure at the moment, or medication that will be given to cure dementia. Yeah.
All right, just talking of course we'll now call it treatment instead of cure.
Yes.
Okay, so let us look at the management for this person that has already been diagnosed with dementia. How exactly would you advise, of course, for the caregivers just to take care of the whole situation, even as they try to manage this particular person's condition?
So one of the things that is very important is that the caregiver needs to understand that people living with dementia need to be on a schedule. When I say a schedule is that if, for example, they wake up, let's say at 7 o'clock, so make sure at 7 they wake up, maybe 7:30, maybe they go to the bathroom if that's their routine. Then by 8 o'clock, maybe take them to the bathroom, you know, but have a system. Once they have a system, then they're able to, they're calmer, and they at least know what's coming next. And even us as human beings, that's why we have our daily planners. We don't like people just waking up and telling us, now today you're going to Mombasa, tomorrow you're going to Nakuru. No, no, no. I need to have known that I'm going to go there. So even people living with dementia need that clarity in their lives in their own way. So having a schedule, so let's say they know when I wake up, this is what will happen. Then I will go to the bathroom. Then I shall eat breakfast. Then if it's lunch, it has to be, if you say it is 12 o'clock, it has to be 12 o'clock every day. Not today it's 1 o'clock, tomorrow it's 2:30, the next day is 3 o'clock. No, because you're disorienting them. There's a family I visited, and this gentleman was far progressed with the condition, but because he knew that his food comes in at 12, he didn't need a clock, because of course they cannot even read the clock anymore, or the watches. And so at 12:30, that is when his food would come. From around 12, he starts organizing the table, arranging the table, putting everything in order, and by 12:30 he is seated with his fork and knife, waiting for his food. So that tells you they have a schedule, they have a system that works. And with that, actually, your loved one is less agitated, less irritable, because they know after I finish food, I shall maybe go for a walk, or I shall take a nap, or I shall listen to music and dance to music. So a schedule is very important. That is really important for management. And even for you as a caregiver, helps and also reduces lack of sleep for them, for example, because if they don't have that system, if they, maybe some of them, if they don't go for their walks, they'll not be able to sleep very well. So having that system in place. Number 2, do not argue with them. And I'd said that earlier. When you argue with them, then they end up thinking you are disrespecting them, and you're not listening to them. So if they start telling you stories of 1942 or whatever year it was that they can remember, listen and be present and ask questions. The questions might not be very relevant. Like I remember once I went to visit this gentleman, he was a pilot. And so he's telling me my flight is in the next 10 minutes. I mean, he's been retired for a while. And so I said, oh, really? So what do you need us to do? And so he's like, I need to pick up my, my book where I travel and my box and everything. So like, where do you want me to help? He says, no, I'm fine. I'll carry everything for myself. And within 5 minutes, he had forgotten he was going for that trip. But if I had fought him and told him, no, you're not going, you stopped working. Now that we would have started having a collision. So just encouraging them. Once again, he also told me, my wife is on the dance floor and she's dancing to music. So I said, why don't you go and join her on the dance floor? And he says, no, let her dance. I'll watch from here. So I'm not telling her, but there's no one there. Once my father, for example, he was a bit worried that the cows had not been put in into the pens, and that everything, the cows and the sheep were everywhere. And my dad, that time he was about 80-something years, he went to a corner and he was, he was almost cowing himself, and he was like almost crying. And he's saying, I'm going to be beaten. Now he's gone back to when he was a boy. And he's like, the cows have refused to go in, and I'm going to be beaten. So I said, what do you want us to do? Help me put back the cows. I said, no problem. So we started, what I did was just putting, like we're putting back the cows. And do you know, then I told him, and then I made a sound like, like we have actually locked it. And he was so happy. He said, thank you, thank you. And for me, it was so heartbreaking to see him in that condition, because you're thinking, what's going on in his mind? How was it like for him when he was growing up? And so some of these things, just that small deed. And then he came and told me, thank you, you really care. And that was amazing to just see him. So even just less arguments, less fighting with them helps their quality of life. Another thing we usually do when we think we are helping our loved ones is moving them from home to home. For example, we have 5 children. I get tired of taking from my mom. Maybe I've taken care of mom for a whole month. Now, number 2, please take over. Number 3, take over. Number 4, like that. And so we keep moving them all the time. That is a mistake we do, because it actually reduces their quality of life. We made that mistake. We thought we were helping, but actually we were not, because the bathroom in my house is in a very different place. The bathroom in your house, very different. Something that we actually do not realize is the smell. The smell, because their other senses are affected, like their memory and everything, and maybe even their eyesight to some point. Their smell senses are very high. So the smell around maybe my house or the area I live in, let's say I live in Mombasa, you live in Nakuru, the sense of smell for them is very different. So that affects them. So what we advise people is don't move them. Let them stay in their home where they were used to, where it was their own home. Sometimes families may have to move them because of other reasons. Of course, as a family, you have the prerogative. I mean, you have to make the decision as a family. But our advice would be, mom would be better off, or dad would be better off, or whoever it is who has dementia, in the environment they were used to from very beginning. Another thing they keep asking about is going home. And they're talking about home, and you keep telling them, but you're in your home. But for them, this is not the home they are used to. It's the home where they grew up. So if you keep arguing with them and telling them, no, you are not, you're already in your house, stop talking about going home, or you keep saying, there's nowhere we are going, we are staying here, or where is so-and-so, then you just tell them so-and-so died. So that also really discourages them. So you have to really plan how you say statements around them. So management takes a lot of, you as a caregiver, because you are the one who's in a proper state of mind, you have to really think of ways, tactics on how to make them agree to do stuff and then make their life much easier. And that's what I was saying, even you as a caregiver, you need that help so that you can also give good care. But management revolves around making sure that your loved one, you know, small things, having maybe carpets in the house that can trip them and make them fall, remove them, maybe changing a few things, maybe having rails in the bathroom that they can hold on to, making sure maybe they have a ramp, because with time maybe they'll be on a wheelchair. So making adjustments also in your home, all that is part of management, and making sure that they have a good quality of life. Yeah, and then just ensuring that whatever they love listening to, keep playing to them. If they love the Lord, let them continue listening to their Bible, maybe in their vernacular, because of course, like I said, their short-term memories were all wiped out. So the language they might remember, if they spoke Kamba first, they will always understand more Kamba than English, because English and Kiswahili may be wiped off. So using their vernacular, getting a caregiver who understands, and then a caregiver also who has love, because love cannot be trained. The rest of the things we can train you on how to clean them, do everything else, but we cannot train you on love. So on management, those are the things that actually come to mind, and I think that would be very key in making sure that the loved one who's living with dementia has quality of life, because it is about them. And ensuring that, because they were valuable members of the society, so let us treat them that way.
Okay, and in terms of management, I don't know whether to bring this as a prevention measure or a management. Are there things that can be done, maybe activities just to jog their memory?
It could come more on preventive and also maybe a bit of management too. So preventing things that we'd usually do, even for our own selves, because like we said, we don't know if you could get dementia, because sometimes it doesn't come written that you shall get it, or you can show signs. But things that you do, one, like I said, eating right, a healthy diet. They tell us you have the Mediterranean diet. That is very important. Let's eat right. Proper balanced diets and all that, so that we can be able to stay healthy. Something else that we need to do, I know a lot of times we exercise physically, but do we exercise mentally? So what activities can we do? I know we had spoken about some things that we usually use, some gadgets, but that is more also to make the family members understand where the person is with dementia. But things like Sudoku, things like crosswords, things like learning a new language, that helps keep your mind activated. Because even reading, because a lot of times now we have our gadgets, we have our phones, we rarely read a book. And even like this generation that we're dealing with, I don't even think they know how to turn pages other than just moving things up with their finger, they're swiping. So that is very important. Even just moving that page makes a difference, and just keeping that mind active. So that's something else we can do to make sure that we are active. So not only physical exercise, but also mental exercise. Like I said, anything that affects your heart affects your mind. So let's watch, what are we eating? Is our cholesterol okay? If you're smoking, please, you don't have to. You can stop. Drinking, you know, and if you're doing it, do in moderation, and then finally stop if you can. So some of these things to just make sure that you're healthy, you're okay, you're not bringing in conditions that usually would not be good for your health. If you're on the motorbike, for example, please wear your helmet, or then walk, or use another form of transport. If you're in the field where you have to play this kind of sports, also watch. We've had cases also where people just collapse and die in some of these very strenuous sports. But also if your mind is hit so many, your brain is hit, your head is hit so many times, it will affect your brain. So also take care of that. Another thing that we'd say, socializing. I know after COVID, a lot of us we are doing a lot of online meetings. We don't want to go for physical meetings. There's something about socializing that actually plays a very big role. A lot of people, when you check, who have dementia, and not everybody, but most of them were very closed in. They were more of loners. They stayed by themselves, and that affects how your mind works. So we ask people, please go out, take that time, even if it's just 20 minutes, 30 minutes, laugh with a friend, talk to a friend, do things out of the ordinary, you know, and socialize. Because socializing actually makes a big difference in how you will, your mind works. So that socializing is so very important for people living, people who have not had dementia, and even for your loved one, even if they still have got it, if you could try and do it also with them, to just help them. They might not be very appreciative sometimes, because once they get dementia, they don't like going into places that are very noisy, but you could just do it, maybe not too many people, but have a few people around them. So, so those are some of the things that you can do to as prevention for the condition. Of course, like we said, if you have all these other conditions, the blood pressures, the cholesterol, the diabetes, also continue taking your medications and making sure that you're heading towards a healthy lifestyle, so that you can you have a quality life.
Okay, and having dealt with caregivers, and of course you yourself having been a caregiver, I don't know, would you say dementia can be genetically, maybe? Is there anything to do with genes, that now that probably my parent or someone had dementia, do I have the chances of getting dementia?
Still a very controversial conversation, because we are still yet to get proper research on the same. There's been cases where generation after generation there've been cases. For example, if my grandmother had dementia, then my dad had dementia, then you'll hear maybe somebody else in the next generation has dementia. There's been cases where they say it skips a generation. And so there's all that. But there've been cases where you'll hear my mom had dementia, my mom's brother has dementia. So the same family, they're like 2 or 3 people, or you notice 3 other people have it. So it's still something, of course, that's being discussed, and more research is being done on the same. But there have been instances where it's almost like it comes, it's genetic.
Okay.
Yeah, and if it's in the family, there's a likelihood you would get it. But like I say,
it's not 100%.
It's not 100%. And also, if you do the right things, and it comes, honestly, we don't have control of our lives. The Lord has. And so you do what you can. And once you've done the very best, you leave the rest to Him.
All right. And we've also seen, can I say, posters or flyers of people that are probably those that... can I say lost, or some, for example, if I see someone, maybe from the description they'll say they have a problem with their memory, maybe they have dementia. How exactly am I able to identify this person? And also on that particular issue, on the issue of law, would you say probably for these people that have dementia, do they also fall, can I say, are they... maybe do they fall in the hands of the law, and are they judged maybe wrongly?
That's a very relevant question, because that's something that actually we were talking the other day after the support group meeting, and we were saying we really need to actually reach out to the judges and all these people. But let's start first with the poster, then we'll come to the judges and the lawyers. So yes, if you see the posters, and that's why we tell people as family members, have a recent photo of your loved one, because sometimes we bring in a picture of a loved one that is maybe about 5 years old, and that's not how they look right now, because of course with the condition, they might age a bit faster than they usually would, so they don't look the same. There's once when we had this poster that we were looking for this lady, and we kept looking for her and looking for her, and finally I went to the police station and I said, I'm looking for this lady, and this is the name, and then the policeman just shouted a name, the name of the person, and then the lady said yes, inside. And I tell you, by the time she came out and you look at the photo, they were two different. They didn't look like the same person. So we ask family members, please put also photos that are recent for your loved ones. That's number one. Number two, when your loved one starts showing symptoms of wandering away, they might wander away once, come back, second come back, the third time they might not come back. We had that same case with my dad. He just walked out and crossed the ferry and went to the other side of Diani. So one of the things that we tell family members is have somebody shadow them. Because sometimes they're also very paranoid because they feel like you're following them, you want to harm them. I remember like when we start with, after now those two incidences rather, of my father disappearing, we got this gentleman who would just be there close. Because like even when they're going to cross the road, they don't look like, you know, to left, right, and then maybe left, they just cross. And so this gentleman would tell him, when now my dad reaches a point when he needs to cross, then the gentleman would like, Mzee, I will help you cross the road. So my father started warming up to this gentleman because he had refused a caregiver initially. And with time, this is a guy actually who ended up being my father's caregiver because now my dad started trusting him more. Yeah. But a lot of times, have somebody shadow them so that you're aware, always sure. Because sometimes we may have gadgets, and a lot of people may have even bracelets that have their names. But also, it's a worry because sometimes people might kidnap them and then maybe put them in. And you see, somebody with dementia, unless you understand dementia, it's very hard to know they actually have dementia. So they would act normal initially, especially in the early stages. So they could be kidnapped and you have all your details there and you can't get your loved one and maybe they need medication. So I know it's a conversation we've been trying to have. How do we keep them safe? So others try and put a phone, but sometimes the phone will switch off. Or that's the same day when the jacket you had put for them is a jacket they will not wear on that day when they are walking out. So I think once you realize, because they get very agitated, they just want to walk out, have somebody shadow them if it is possible. I know there are instances they might just sneak out without you knowing. So also when you're approaching this person who's got dementia, be also very careful because like I said, because they cannot flee, they'll fight. So if you don't approach them in a very respectful way and just showing them love and just smiling, sometimes let me tell you, smile disarms. It will make a great difference to them. So that is also very important, how you approach them. Are there cases where people who have dementia have been put in jail for things that they have done? Yes. We've had cases, even this gentleman, I think it was a chair or something. A chair that looks like his or a goat that looked like his, and he went and picked it and said, this is my goat. And so they are charged. And like I said, unless somebody really understands, because why would you take somebody else's goat and say it is yours, you know, really at that age? Or another one just crosses and he's walking and it's not trespass and they are locked in. So we've had cases where we've had to come out and fight for these people. But I think one of the things that I'm very happy about is that now the judges are, and even the lawyers who are going to court are more enlightened, and so they allow taking, at least they try and check somebody's mental health and try and understand, and maybe if the family can also prove that actually there have been cases of 1 to 3 happening that looks like it's not very like dementia, for example. So that will help. But there's still a lot of work that is required to create this awareness, because a lot of people may just be in there for something they didn't mean to do. It just happened along their way. And
again, with the Kenyan law, ignorance is no defense. So
that's the thing. So you will just go in. By the time we are trying to fight for you, you're already in for maybe a week, a month, a year, before you finally can get you out, which can be very sad.
And I think maybe with that, probably a proper diagnosis would work, because you'll be having something maybe to present.
Yes, and that is why that is my gospel. I mean, for me, I know how it helps. And also even when issues even in the family, because there are times you can be accused that you're stealing from your loved one. And it's because your loved one is telling the family members you're stealing from them. So if you don't have a way to defend yourself that is credible, you could actually have a lot of infights in the family because of those kind of things. So there's a lot with the diagnosis. It is actually a way to help you move forward in this journey of dementia.
All right. Thank you so much. Any parting shot?
The parting shot is that let us all be aware. Let us be sensitive to people and family members who are having loved ones with dementia. If you know a caregiver who's going through this journey, put them in touch with us so that they know that you are not walking alone. But you who is a caregiver, you who's caring for your loved one, you're doing an amazing job. Maybe people will never give you a pat on the back, but just know you are doing the very best for your loved one. And all I can say to you is, may the Lord bless you for what you're doing for your loved one, and may He continue giving you the strength, because that is what they need, strength for every day, to just wake up and continue the same routine every day. It needs the Lord's strength. Yeah.
Right, and how can people find you?
So we are on Facebook as Alzheimer's and Dementia Organization Kenya, and then you can go to our website www.alzkenya.org. Our phone numbers are there. You can reach us, you can send us an email, and we'll be there to help you.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for creating this much needed awareness, of course, on dementia and Alzheimer's.
Thank you so much.
Right, so that's where we end our morning conversation. Thank you so much for keeping me company from 8 a.m. until now. Of course, we were looking at understanding dementia and Alzheimer's. And if you're just joining us, of course, you can always go to our Facebook page and YouTube channel. You'll always find what exactly we have discussed on this particular day. So thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Aida Munzati. See you again next Monday.